Hey, this is Geektopia, Geek Squad, where usually we discuss a movie or TV show that we've all watched as recommended by you as well. But today, and on occasion, we have these little bonus episodes where we discuss things pertinent to the entertainment industry and perhaps topical as well. And today's one it's about the Oscars. So we have Levy, we have Hadis, we have Papi Zach, we have Aaron, and we have Chief Juntan and myself, Adam Carruthers, of course. And the Oscars just happened. It's been a slightly contentious Oscars. So, of course, it's happening during COVID. So, for one, it was in a much smaller and toned down venue with social distancing in place and all of that. They took place in a train station, believe it or not, and they made it up to look nice. But
it looked like one of the like a fancy dinner place, like a fancy dinner hall.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it was like Union Station or something, which for most of the world who haven't been to America might not mean anything, but to Americans, it's quite famous. So it did look kind of nice, but a lot of people said it looked very tacky. There were a lot of issues concerning the Oscars. The biggest issue of all is the huge, massive drop in viewership. I mean, massive. Last year was a shade over 20 million people, which is not a lot in the first place. It's already seen a huge drop. But this year, and figures might go up a bit if you take into account other ways of watching it, but at time of recording was listed at about 9.8, I think. Yes. That's less than 10 million. That's a drop of about 58% from last year. And again, last year was already considered low. Less than 10 million people watched it. Now, the population of America, I think, is about 350 million, give or take. I watched a show called Line of Duty in England. And the latest episode that aired the same day as the Oscars, but in England, and England's population is about 60 million. Over 13 million people watched it. So in a population far smaller than England, more people watch Line of Duty than watch the Oscars in the whole of America. That is just like that. I think puts it in perspective, considering America has about 300 million more people. Yet you get what I mean and what I'm trying to say here. Do you still care about the Oscars, Levy?
Not really lah. I'll just wait until the winners are announced, but I won't watch it.
Hadis, do you care about the Oscars?
I used to, but not anymore. It's been 3-4 years. I don't really I just Google what is the update, who won.
Aaron, do you care about the Oscars?
Well, if my favorite movies are in it and the film is in it, then I'll be down with it. But I don't really exactly remember the last time I've seen Oscar via digital streams or whatsoever. So
yeah. What about yourself, Chief Jantan? Looks like you're thinking. You always look like you're thinking.
So I'm always thinking. I mean, I don't watch it, but I still feel like I want to see who the winners are. I don't watch the show itself. I'm not really interested in watching the show itself, but I think awards shows like this are important for the industry and just to celebrate the great work that's done the whole year. I think the last one I was excited was the last year, right, for Parasite. Having it win for the first time, that was exciting. And this year, what I liked was the fact that female director of an Asian female director winning it for the first time.
What about yourself, Papi? Do you still care about the Oscars?
Okay, when I watch the Oscars, it's like when I watch a UFC fight. I just want to watch the main cards. I just want the main categories. The prelims and everything like that, I could not. And just like Tia said, it's a way, because I am as well in the industry, and it's a way to recognize all the great works. But as of late, I don't know, it feels like the Oscars is just being too woke, I guess.
Yeah, there's been a lot of accusations of being too woke, not so much for the nominees or anything, but because the whole thing started with Regina King coming out on stage and putting her political view. Now, I'm not going to say what is right and what is wrong with the political views,
right?
But Hollywood, it tends to be very left. But in America, vast majority of different states are very right-wing. And I think they'll be very put off when you make it political. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. When I always appreciated the Oscars when I remember when Ving Rhames gave up his Oscar. No, was it his Oscar?
Brando?
No, his Emmys.
Oh yeah, okay.
His Emmy to who was it? His favorite actor who was also nominated in the same category. You know, it's those kind of moments that I always look forward to in an Oscar. Like even when Robin Williams won his first Oscar for Good Will Hunting, it was such an uplifting moment, and you know nobody cared about the whole. You know, it's like how long your speech was going. They said like, I'm gonna finish my speech and say whatever I want to, right?
Yeah.
And then, but it just like I said, it just felt like now it's more, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. It's more PC, you know.
I just feel that a lot of the fun has been taken out, particularly for this year.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, you bring up like people have to give a speech, of course, when they win, but usually they'll be ushered off. The music will start playing. This year, they said no. So a lot of the speeches were very draggy. They were very, very draggy. And
you realize like when the Oscars before, I realized when it was like a foreign category or if it was a not well-known person who won the Oscar, they would really like give him just like 30 seconds and then just usher him off. Like no respect at all. Yeah. But when it comes to the big time producers, you know, then they're like, oh yeah, we'll play the music. Oh no, but we'll dim it down so they can continue and like whatever, it's okay.
The other thing about the Oscars, and this has been, I think, a trend for a while, is how many of these movies have people actually watched? Like Nomadland. Nomadland made 2.5 million, which is a drop in the ocean compared to what a lot of other movies make. So I don't think people can fully relate to what is being showcased at the Oscars. The most successful film of all time, actually, no, it's been overtaken again by Avatar, Avengers Endgame. Now, if Avengers Endgame had been nominated for an Oscar for Best Picture, Best Actor and stuff, I bet you a lot more people will be watching. Yeah, I mean, a lot more. Because Avengers in the Marvel Universe. But comic book movies have never been fully appreciated, I feel. I remember something lacking. Sorry, go on.
I mean, I would say like Titanic would be the last Oscar movie that I know that won for best movie that actually generated people to come and watch, you know,
there was one thing I was going to bring up right there in relation to that would be this year there was no dancing. There was, you know how usually they make a funny skit at the start. Yeah. There was nothing. I understand maybe because of COVID. There was no orchestra even. You can socially distance an orchestra. But following up on Zach's point, I remember when Hugh Jackman was the host of the Oscars and he did this amazing skit at the start. And, you know, he has a background in Broadway and theater musicals. So he did a whole song and dance. And there was one bit where he was highlighting some of the movies which had come out. One of them was The Dark Knight. And the line he said, even though this was like 12 years ago, still sticks in my mind. How can $1 billion be wrong? So he's saying like Dark Knight hadn't really, I mean, okay, Heath Ledger won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, but apart from that, wasn't really full recognition for The Dark Knight. And people were saying, why not? Movie lovers loved it. It made $1 billion and counting. And maybe it should have got more recognition. And this is going back a long way. I don't feel anything has changed since then.
I guess the question is for people is like, who's making this nominations and who's making these decisions, right? Who's the voting ones, and do they actually reflect the general public?
True.
And if they don't, that's why the general public is not interested in this anymore because it doesn't reflect what we like. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to all the directors and to all the shows out there. I mean, they are really good movies, but then they're not really mainstream.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to like the Oscars, it's always recognized as a real film connoisseur kind of like movies, like, you know, like for the life of me, I wouldn't watch that Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson movie about that
The Lighthouse. I did watch it. I watched it.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch that movie, but I'm sure it'd be like a Oscar nominated, like confirmed. Like when you watch it, like, yeah, it's boring. It's going to be Oscar nominated.
One of the films that won some Oscars this year is Mank, which was a Netflix movie of Gary Oldman. It is a autobiographical, not auto because he's already dead, but it is a biographical film, and it was shot in the style of the 1930s 40s movies when it was set. Beautiful film. It is on Netflix, and I'm glad it won some awards as well. But you're right, because Mank is a very artsy film. People are not going to fully understand that this is about the writer of Citizen Kane, which is one of the most celebrated movies of all time, and it's studied in film school, even though it came out like 80 years ago or longer. Can't remember the exact year. 1945 41, something like that. What about the diversity? Because they made a real push this year, Levy. I'm going to ask you first. Were you happy to see a more diverse list of nominees?
Yeah.
Which is a great thing, right?
Yes, it is a great thing.
And Hadis?
Yeah, I agree with Levi. I think there was a lot of like diverse, and I was happy that we had some Asian and like more recognition towards that as well. But I have to say that throughout the whole list that I went through, it's just 2 movies that I watched personally. One was Soul, the animated,
the Jamie Foxx one, yeah.
And The Promising Young Woman. So it's just, for me, it's like, these are the 2 that I watched. And for Soul, I'm very happy because it was an animation that I really enjoyed, teared with. So I think...
But Soul was quite, not to say, well, it was a mainstream movie. I mean, it was a big production, but would you have watched Promising Young Woman if I hadn't recommended it here?
No, I wouldn't know.
That's that right? So that is a movie which we covered a few weeks back. The diversity issue, do you deep down wish there were more Bollywood movies? Because I know you're a huge Bollywood fan.
Yeah, but I won't argue with that because Bollywood has its own awards, like Filmfare. If you ask me, every year I watch the Bollywood award show, which is Filmfare or Z Cine or like Lux Award. So I watch all their show because I believe in what the public thinks, because they are open for votes. It's not just limited, like they have a category of critics award, so they win based on the critics, and then one is the public vote. So who public thought it's the best film and the best actor, and also I like that you can participate in that award. Yeah,
understood.
I
remember, speaking of the topic of diversity, I remember having this conversation with one of my best friends, Nick, who's in the UK. And he loves Asian films. And we came to the agreement, this was last year, around this time last year. We both feel that the best movies being made right now are actually coming out of Korea, not Hollywood, not Hong Kong. But that's a personal take. And that's why I say last year, because Parasite obviously is a Korean movie, South Korean movie. And there's a lot of good South Korean movies out there, which I think need to get more exposure. Hopefully, with the Oscars being more diverse, that will be a case in the future. More people need to watch.
Because recently I started to watch, based on Netflix series, I started to watch a South Korean series. And to me, every time I was thinking, like, had this thought about it that is, it's cheesy. It's very like, K-drama. Very like romantic-ish. But I watched 2-3 series recently, especially when we were in lockdown. I was like, damn, I need to catch up.
They're really good. Like romance stuff is not my cup of tea, as you well know. My criticism of Bridgerton, which is well known.
They do have a romance, but the story is like, wow.
Yeah, like my wife watches the romantic stuff, and for me, I like watching the thrillers and the mysteries, and they are some of the best films, which I highly recommend people look up.
I believe the Korean industry is what the Hollywood industry was when it was before all the superhero movies started coming in, you know, because right now it's everything is just something supernatural, superhero, zombies. Yeah.
Because Hollywood is afraid of trying out new things, which is why there's so many remakes.
Koreans are not. They're not afraid. So I think when it comes to original content, original ideas, these Koreans, they got something going.
Yeah, really, really special. There's also accusations of exploitation. So Chadwick Boseman, the late Chadwick Boseman, was nominated for Best Actor. Now, traditionally speaking, the Oscars will always put Best Film, Best Picture, the award at the end, because that is the big one, right? But this year, they decided to put Best Actor at the end. So everyone started thinking, the reason they're putting it there is then you can end on a note to remember Chadwick Boseman because he's going to win. The thing is, Chadwick Boseman did not win. It was Anthony Hopkins for The Father. Anthony Hopkins, you know what he was doing when the Oscars was happening? He was asleep in Wales. His agent said he was asleep in Wales, so he didn't even join. He didn't even join via video link. He just had a pre-recorded message, and that was it. Do you think they were being a bit exploitive there, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, the reasons, Oscars has always been, about tradition,
Yes.
Right. And if you usually end on Best Picture, you should really end on Best Picture. In some ways, it's kind of like I don't want to say it's rigged, but
Rigged.
it's kind of manipulative.
I just feel also that a lot of people feel that Chadwick Boseman should have won because he died. And I don't think that should be the case. The Oscars is about the Oscars is about meritocracy. And for me, with all due respect to the late Chadwick Boseman, I mean, Anthony Hopkins knocked it out the park in The Father, which is what he won his Oscar for.
Did you watch that movie?
Yeah. I like watching artsy stuff.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I just watched Mank, right? Mank was one of my favorite films of last year.
That's why you don't like romantic stuff.
Maybe, but I love Anthony Hopkins. And my best friend Nick, I mentioned moments ago, his dad always reminded me of Anthony Hopkins, and I've always said that. And ever since I saw Sir Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs, which is where he won his first Oscar, I just loved the guy. Just thought he's been absolutely brilliant. And
everybody reminds you of everyone.
You remind me of Goro from Mortal Kombat.
I remind you of Goro. Levy reminds you of LeVar.
Only because of the name. You remind me of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle as well. That's a different story altogether. How do the Oscars fix this, Aaron?
I guess one thing I would say, the viewership would just go down. It wouldn't go back up because we're entering a stage where, now the audience wants to see like the highest viewership in digital platform right now is YouTube. No matter how much you want to go against it, you can't, because it's like people won't sit and watch the whole length of the Oscar anymore. People just want the news. Like, look at Levy and Hardy's. They just want to know who wins in the end of the day. The shorter it is, the better it is. But so I feel like young people don't really know how to appreciate the work of art. If you're not a creative person and you don't know how it is, like if you're not a film producer, maybe you wouldn't know how to appreciate. But for me, how you would get me to really watch the Oscars is maybe put up my favorite film be one of the nominees inside. I'm actually quite happy that The White Tiger is actually in one of the nominees. I was very surprised.
Oh yeah, you recommended that.
Yeah, I recommended that. So because for me it's pretty good. I mean the whole thing was very interesting for me, and I'm pretty happy about it. But I wasn't able to watch it unfortunately. So I hope that movies maybe that maybe more audience would like you said. I don't think superhero movies will be ever Oscars,
recognized,
right? Recognized, right? So I don't know how the decision making of the Oscar goes. I have no idea how they vote it. I do hope that all these big film names would be up there, and that maybe would draw more people to it. That's my take on it.
I mean, this year, again, I understand COVID, but they had no host.
Yeah.
There was no host. And they didn't show any clips of the nominees. Now, this is a COVID year. Yeah, that means a lot of people didn't go to the cinema. Mm-hmm. There's no better time to show a clip of someone who's been nominated for Best Actor or the Best Film than now, because a lot of the films were not watched. I mean, Nomadland, 2.5 million. That's how much it made. Showcase a bit of it, at least. Maybe it'll draw people to be interested in it, and maybe they'll tune in next year. I feel that the Oscars used to be a show. It used to be grand. It used to be I mentioned Hugh Jackman doing his song and dance routine. That was viral. These are the early days of YouTube, because I think he hosted in 2009. It's gone now. It's become a showcase for very affluent and very rich Hollywood folk to come out and make a political statement. That's how I view the Oscars now, and I'm bored of that. I don't want that. I want films to be celebrated. I don't want a political statement. I want someone like Ricky Gervais, who's done award shows, to come out and roast these people. That's what I want. I want it to be a show, not a showcase of your political views. Levy, what would draw you into watching the Oscars again? At least bits and pieces. Maybe not the whole show, but maybe you'll go onto YouTube and say, "Oh, I want to watch this bit from the Oscars." Because I doubt you've done that this year.
The host,
right?
Yeah. If they got a really good and entertaining host, then probably I'll watch it.
Hadis?
I would recommend you watch a Bollywood award show to get entertained.
I might if you watch. Yeah, go on.
Because it's like, as you describe it, yes, it used to be like the whole show that you watch and you get entertained and everything. But now it's like, sorry to say, it's like stories so sad and so to me, like how Aaron said, it's not that I don't appreciate art, but it's about like you make it too old. You're not like
too old.
Catering the younger generation.
Mm.
So your audience are growing old with you.
Yeah.
So you don't have that, the
wow factor
and wow factor, as we say in there.
That's a great point as well. The length of the shows. Like I did an event where I was hosting an event. It was a conference, and they got animators in from Cartoon Network and big guns, big players in the industry from America and Asia and Europe. And the consensus was, this was like 5 years ago, there was a consensus that everything has to be shorter because that's how people consume things. We are living in a TikTok generation, short videos. We're living in an Insta story generation. People want content in shorter form. It's something which has been brought up in the world of football as well, that the younger generation, maybe because they might not have access to watching it, but the younger generation are not watching matches for 90 minutes like how I do. We're known as legacy fans now. That's a term they use. And because things are too long. And so are you, Zach, because I know you sit down and watch. But Hadis, does that affect things?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because like if I want to compare, when I ask like watch a Bollywood like award show, like for example, Film for is at least 3 hours long, but I watch throughout the whole thing.
But Bollywood is different because the movies are also long.
Yeah. But then what I mean is like it's important on how they hook you to watch that whole show.
Let me ask you this. What was a cartoon you watched when you were younger? Name me one that you liked.
Me? Oh my God.
Any cartoon you liked when you were younger?
Powerpuff Girls.
Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry and stuff, like Tom and Jerry Kids and whatever it might be, like I watched, right?
Pink Panther.
Pink Panther. Going back to the conference I did, right? So the younger generation, who are younger than all of us now, are growing up watching cartoons, which are much shorter in length than the ones we watched.
Oh.
Best example would be, I watched Justice League and Batman the Animated Series. Now, each episode was 23 minutes long, 30 minutes of commercials. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I did this conference, they were just about to launch a new Justice League cartoon, and each episode was 12 minutes long. And they explain why, because the attention span of the children, who are younger than all of us, is shorter than it's ever been.
Wow.
It's getting shorter and shorter. And maybe we can't quite relate because we didn't grow up with this, but there's a whole generation of people growing up now watching cartoons which are shorter in length because that is what they want. There's a generation that will come up in about 5 years' time, 10 years' time, who are used to everything being shorter and on demand. On demand and shorter.
Okay, on demand thing I would not argue with, but shorter, not necessarily. Like going back to what Hadis was saying, right? Because I only started getting into Bollywood movies over the lockdown. That's because my housemate Mo was a big fan, and he's like, dude, you got to watch it. I said, dude, I got better things to do than waste 3 hours of my life. But those 3 hours went by very quickly because I don't know, like they structure everything where it doesn't get stagnant. They leave you on like a certain cliffhanger, right? And the cliffhanger goes into a song and dance, and you want the song and dance, you like it or you don't
enjoy it,
but you want it to go faster so you can see what happens next.
Yeah. So
I think with this new generation, if you like, it's not just like your attention span is closed, but if you make it interesting enough and you hook them with like a cliffhanger, they will sit down and watch it.
Maybe. I don't think so though, because I think we're living beyond films. You look at TikTok. What's the most popular app right now? TikTok. Look at how well short videos do on YouTube as opposed to long videos on YouTube.
True.
Look at Insta stories. Look at how long Instagram makes your post, unless it becomes one which you have to click to watch the full video. It's capped at 1 minute. Everything is short. It's just getting shorter for the young, not for us, but for people that are growing up now. And this is what they've become accustomed and used to.
And it's up to us, Adam, to educate these futures.
We can try. Like, I have no issue with long form content. I mean,
hurry up and make a baby already. Stop talking on these stupid podcasts and just make babies.
that will look like you, Zach. That's the problem. You look like a giant baby. What about the director in this conversation? What does Chief Jantan think about this and the state of the affairs now?
Yeah, it is true that the short form is where the whole direction is going, and Zach is right. I mean, we need to hook people in to get them watching all the way. But this is a very worrying trend for me, because how far will this go, right? If it keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, what next time a movie is 1 minute long, right? I think at a certain point it needs to stop, and we need to, instead of let's go with the trend, we need to change the trend and make things. I mean, train them, I guess, to start appreciating all this long form stuff again. How can a whole generation of people be with short attention span? How's the world going to develop, right? How are they going to focus on any project long enough to get it done? I understand that this is a trend that it is going now, but I'm very worried about where this trend is going to get to.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying?
Oh yeah. So what I blame freaking technology, okay? Because everybody wants like faster connection and faster access. So it derives from this, like everything I want now, everything now, okay?
Yeah.
You make me wait.
Right.
What am I gonna do? I'm so waiting so long.
Yeah.
True. Very true. I'm thinking back of what kind of started it all. Remember Vine?
Vine.
Vine started the whole TikTok trend went.
Yeah. So obviously Vine is now shut down, but it was really, really, really popular at one point. In just 15 years, I was reading a study, 15 years from 2000 to 2015, the attention span was about 12 seconds for something to grab your attention. Now in 2015, it had dropped to 8.25 seconds, almost half. That's where you might have heard people say that we have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. Yeah, it is a serious concern. It is a serious concern.
Yeah,
so that's why I can't discount. I know, Zach, you believe that long form and all of that, but it's just that everything around us now, it's like our attention span. Like we just scroll on Facebook, you scroll on Instagram, blah, 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 blah.
You just gotta slowly implement it to people, man. You know.
It feels like a losing battle.
That's why weed is doing so good, because everything's going so fast. They want to slow it down.
Slow it down for you. Yeah, slow it down for you.
Yeah, I do enjoy how our topics always always diverge into something else, but all kind of semi-linked at the same time. Anyway, I think it's been a very enlightening conversation. I think it's been an interesting one. I love it. I absolutely love how we can spin one thing from another. So Levi, Hadis, Papi, Aaron, and Chief Jantan, thank you for the conversation. As always, thoroughly enjoyable. And if you think there's anything we should discuss out there, not just a recommendation for a film or TV show, but just a topic, do let us know by leaving a comment and joining the conversation as well. Like, share, and subscribe as per usual to Geektopia. This is all 6 of us signing off for now. Bye.